There is a breathing pattern so powerful that for centuries it was whispered about only inside closed warrior circles, not taught to the public, not written clearly in manuals, hidden deliberately. Because once you understand it, something unsettling happens. You realize that your body is not an automatic machine at all. You realize you have been breathing wrong your entire life. The ancient samurai knew this, and the technique they used was called reverse breathing. Dangerous knowledge. Suppressed knowledge, because it gives you a level of internal control that most people never discover. Let me be direct with you. Right now, as you sit there listening to this, your breath is quietly programming your nervous system. Every inhale, every exhale is sending signals deep into your brainstem, into your vagus nerve, into the hidden biological circuits that control stress, energy, and focus. But modern humans breathe like frightened animals. Shallow chest breathing, rapid, inefficient, unstable. This pattern traps the body in a constant low-level stress response. Cortisol slowly rises. Oxygen delivery becomes chaotic. Your brain becomes foggy, reactive, easily overwhelmed. And the worst part is that most people never notice it. They believe fatigue is normal. Anxiety is normal. Brain fog is normal. But the samurai discovered something terrifyingly simple. They discovered that breath is not just oxygen exchange. Breath is a command system, a biological switchboard. Change the pattern, and you change the signals, traveling through the vagus nerve into the deepest survival circuits of the brain. Change the pressure inside the abdomen and diaphragm, and you influence heart rhythm, emotional regulation, and even how efficiently your cells use oxygen. Reverse breathing was their secret method to trigger this internal command system on demand. Calm under pressure, stability and chaos, absolute control when everyone else panics. And here is the uncomfortable truth. The mechanism has been quietly confirmed by modern physiology. Your diaphragm is not just a breathing muscle. It is a neurological lever, a hydraulic pump that communicates with your nervous system every second of your life. The way you breathe right now is either weakening that system or training it, and the ancient warriors understood exactly how to use it. Now, here is the uncomfortable reality most people never hear. The modern world has quietly trained you into the worst breathing pattern possible for a stable nervous system. Sit in a chair all day, shoulders forward, chest collapsed, breath rising into the upper lungs, short inhales, shorter exhales, the diaphragm barely moving. At first it seems harmless, but inside your body, something dangerous begins to happen. Your nervous system interprets this shallow pattern as a signal of constant threat. The brainstem reads rapid chest breathing, the same way it reads fear, panic, or escape. And once that signal repeats thousands of times a day, the body adapts to it. The sympathetic nervous system begins to dominate. Cortisol pulses through the bloodstream. Your heart rhythm becomes less coherent. Focus becomes fragmented. You feel restless, wired, yet strangely exhausted. You might think the problem is your workload, your sleep, or your diet. But often the hidden trigger is much simpler. The breath itself is sending the wrong instructions to your biology. This is where the ancient warriors made a discovery that modern science is only beginning to fully understand. They realized that the diaphragm is directly connected to one of the most powerful regulatory systems in the human body, the vagus nerve. This nerve is like a biological communication highway between your brain and your organs. It controls heart rate, digestion, emotional regulation, and even how quickly you recover from stress. When breathing becomes shallow and unstable, vagus nerve signaling weakens. The body loses its ability to switch into deep recovery mode. But the samurai did the opposite. Instead of allowing the abdomen to expand during the inhale like most people naturally do, they reversed the pattern. On the inhale, the abdomen drew inward. On the exhale, it released. This created a controlled compression inside the abdominal cavity, generating internal pressure that stabilized the spine, sharpened awareness, and most importantly, sent powerful signals through the vagus nerve to the brainstem. The result was extraordinary. Calm under extreme pressure, slower heart rhythms, clear thinking even in life or death situations. What looked like a simple breathing technique was actually a sophisticated form of nervous system training. And once you understand the mechanism, you begin to realize something profound. Your breath is not just keeping you alive, it is programming the state of your mind. To understand why reverse breathing works, you need to look deeper than the lungs. The real story begins with pressure. Inside your torso, there is a hidden hydraulic chamber formed by the diaphragm at the top, the pelvic floor at the bottom, and the abdominal wall wrapped around the sides. Modern physiology calls this system intra-abdominal pressure regulation. Ancient warriors never used that scientific language, but they understood its power through experience. When most people inhale, the abdomen expands outward as the diaphragm drops. It is passive, loose, uncontrolled. But in reverse breathing, the process changes dramatically. As you inhale, the abdominal wall gently contracts inward, while the diaphragm still descends. At first, this sounds impossible. But the moment you attempt it, you feel something unusual happen inside your body. Pressure begins to build. Not painful pressure, but a firm, stabilizing compression deep in the core. This compression activates a network of mechanoreceptors embedded in the diaphragm, the spine, and the connective tissues around the organs. Those receptors immediately send signals to the brainstem, and this is where the vagus nerve enters the picture again. The vagus nerve acts like a monitoring cable between the body and the brain. When internal pressure becomes stable and rhythmic, the brain interprets this as a signal of control rather than danger. Heart rate begins to slow slightly. Breathing efficiency increases. The brain shifts away from chaotic stress signaling and toward organized neural patterns associated with focus and calm alertness. At the same time, carbon dioxide tolerance inside the bloodstream improves. Most people believe oxygen is the main factor in breathing efficiency. But modern respiratory science shows that carbon dioxide regulation is equally critical. Reverse breathing subtly increases CO2 stability, which allows hemoglobin to release oxygen more effectively into tissues. In other words, your cells receive oxygen more efficiently, even though your breathing becomes slower and quieter. The samurai could not measure blood gases or neural signals, but they felt the effect immediately. The body becomes grounded. The mind becomes sharp. Movement becomes stable and deliberate. What appears from the outside as a simple inhale and exhale is actually a precise neurological message being sent to the deepest regulatory systems of your body. And once this message becomes consistent, the entire nervous system begins to reorganize around it. Long before laboratories, brain scans, and respiratory physiology existed, warrior cultures were already experimenting with the hidden mechanics of breath. In feudal Japan, elite samurai were trained not only in swordsmanship, but in internal stability. A warrior whose breath collapsed under pressure would lose precision, lose awareness, and ultimately lose the fight. So instructors began paying attention to something subtle. The abdomen of the most calm and lethal fighters moved differently when they breathed. Instead of swelling outward during inhalation, their lower abdomen drew inward, tightening around the core like a protective belt. This was not accidental. It was trained deliberately. The technique was connected to what many traditions called the tanden, the energetic center located deep below the navel. Modern science would later describe this region differently. It is where major nerve networks, connective tissue systems, and pressure regulation mechanisms converge. By controlling breath through this center, the warriors were unknowingly stabilizing the entire nervous system. Similar discoveries appeared in Taoist internal practices, where reverse breathing was used to cultivate internal energy and strengthen the body's resilience. Practitioners believed they were circulating life force. But beneath the spiritual language, something measurable was happening. Controlled abdominal compressions synchronized the diaphragm, pelvic floor, and spine, creating a stable pressure chamber inside the body. This stability fed powerful signals through the vagus nerve and spinal pathways into the brain. Modern neuroscience now shows that these signals influence autonomic balance, emotional regulation, and cognitive clarity. What ancient teachers described as cultivating inner power may actually have been an early form of nervous system training. When breath pressure becomes controlled and rhythmic, the brain receives a constant message that the body is stable and safe. And when the brain believes the body is safe, something extraordinary happens. Perception sharpens. Reaction time improves. Fear responses become quieter. The samurai did not speak about vague nerve signaling or carbon dioxide tolerance, but they understood the outcome with frightening accuracy. A warrior who mastered this breathing pattern could remain calm while others panicked, steady while others trembled, focused while chaos erupted around them. The breath became more than air moving through the lungs. It became a hidden lever, capable of influencing the deepest biological systems inside the human body. Now the question becomes practical. How do you actually perform reverse breathing correctly? Because this is where most people fail. They hear the concept, attempt it once or twice, and assume they understand it. But the effectiveness of this method depends on precision. Small details matter. The first step is posture. Sit upright or stand with your spine naturally tall, not stiff, not forced. Imagine a thread gently lifting the crown of your head while your shoulders remain relaxed. The chest should feel open, but not exaggerated. Now bring your attention below the navel, about 2 inches inward into the abdomen. This region is where the internal pressure system begins. Place one hand lightly over the lower abdomen if necessary. Begin by breathing slowly through the nose. The inhale should be quiet and controlled. But here comes the unusual part. As the inhale begins, gently draw the lower abdomen inward toward the spine instead of letting it expand outward. The movement should be subtle, almost as if the stomach is tightening to fasten a belt 1 notch tighter. Do not suck the stomach aggressively. That is a common mistake. The contraction should be calm and steady, allowing the diaphragm to still descend inside the body. When performed correctly, you will feel a deep internal firmness developing around the center of the torso. That sensation is the pressure chamber forming. Hold this compressed stability for a brief moment at the top of the inhale. Usually 1 or 2 seconds, not straining, just stable. Then allow the exhale to flow slowly through the nose while the abdomen gradually releases outward. Again, the exhale should feel longer and smoother than the inhale. This release phase is crucial because it allows the nervous system to shift toward parasympathetic regulation. Continue this cycle slowly. Inhale, while the abdomen draws inward. Pause briefly with internal pressure. Exhale while the abdomen relaxes outward. At first, the coordination may feel strange because it reverses the breathing pattern your body learned since childhood. But within a few minutes, the rhythm begins to settle. And when the pattern becomes smooth, something remarkable appears. The body becomes steady, the mind becomes quiet, and a sense of internal control begins to emerge that most people have never experienced through breathing alone. Once this breathing pattern becomes natural, the real transformation begins to unfold over time. The first changes are subtle. After a few days of consistent practice, many people notice that their breathing becomes slower, even when they are not consciously controlling it. The body begins to adopt the rhythm automatically. This is the nervous system recalibrating itself. Signals traveling through the vagus nerve become more stable, and the brainstem begins interpreting the body as less threatened and more controlled. As a result, heart rate variability improves, which scientists recognize as one of the strongest indicators of a resilient nervous system. Within 1 or 2 weeks, the effects often become more noticeable. Stressful situations that previously triggered immediate tension begin to feel different. Instead of reacting automatically, the body pauses. The breath stabilizes the internal pressure of the torso. The spine remains grounded, and the mind stays clear under pressure. This is exactly why ancient warriors valued this technique so highly. In moments of chaos, whoever controls their internal state gains a decisive advantage. After several weeks of daily practice, another change often appears. The diaphragm becomes stronger and more responsive, which improves respiratory efficiency. Your breathing becomes quieter, deeper, and more economical. Oxygen delivery improves because carbon dioxide tolerance inside the bloodstream becomes more balanced, allowing your cells to use oxygen more effectively. Many practitioners describe a steady background sense of calm alertness, replacing the restless tension they once carried throughout the day. But here is the truth most people overlook. None of these changes happen through knowledge alone. They happen through repetition. The samurai did not practice reverse breathing once and walk away. They trained it daily, until the pattern became instinctive, until the body responded automatically under pressure. So here is the challenge. For the next 14 days, practice this breathing pattern for just 10 minutes each day. Quiet inhale with the abdomen drawing inward. Brief internal stabilization. Slow, controlled exhale as the abdomen releases. Observe what happens inside your body. Because once you realize that your breath can regulate your nervous system on command, you begin to understand something the ancient warriors discovered long ago. Master the breath, and you begin to master the biology that once controlled you.